Hi everyone, Andy Klein here to tell you about how I got another tool station all set up in my Denver shop. In my old shop, I had my miter saw, mortiser, and drum sander set up on the same bench so that they took up minimal amount of space. Now you might think with my new shop and all the extra room I have that I might want to spread out a bit, but I actually think I'm going to keep this. First of all, it's already built, and I think I want to always keep with the design aesthetic of setting things up so the tools don't take up more room than they need to, because I have ambitious plans for the tools I want to get in here, and I think also it's interesting solutions for people who might have less space than me with about 1,200 usable square feet. Now there's a wooden fence that runs in front of all three of these tools, and I'd like to thank past Andy for putting a left and a right on the supports that hold the fence to the right of the miter saw. Nice work. Now the mortiser sits on a table that can move side to side and front to back with stops in each of those directions so that I can easily do repeatable cuts with the workpiece clamped to the fence that runs across all the tools. And since everything is pre-threaded and pre-drilled and I saved all the pieces from before, it's pretty simple getting this back together. Now it's time for the drum sander. Now my drum sander is a Frankenstein contraption that is a radial arm saw with a drum sander arm bolted onto it. Now this is how the first Performax drum sanders were done. And I kind of got sick of shooting video for this project, so I don't have a whole lot more of the setup. But interestingly, putting this drum sander together was actually my first attempt at a YouTube video. The footage came out so terrible that I didn't end up using it. But I salvaged some of the clips from my old shop just so you can see how this originally came together. Warning, prepare yourself for about 1 minute of really terrible audio.
So I'm going to show you what I'm going to try to do to mount the power feed cable to the radial arm saw base. It's fairly simple in the back. It comes with these tabs, and I'm just going to use one of the pieces of angle that came with the radial arm saw to secure it in the back. But in the front, I wanted to make it a little easier to tension the belt and to change out belts. So what I came up with is these that I'm going to bolt to the side of the radial arm saw base like that, and I tap threads into the wood so that I can adjust these deck bolts, and they will sit in between these.
Okay, if you're still watching, I'll tell you how the rest of this came together. I first had to glue an angled piece of wood onto the top of the drum sander arm to get a parallel surface to mount the motor. And then I debated changing this ugly looking mechanism that adjusts the front of the drum up or down, but it works, so I just ended up leaving it. And now I put my arm in the way so you can't see that I'm trying to figure out where to put a hinge on the mounting plate to get the motor situated. I drill some holes to mount that hinge. Then I bolt the hinge in and put in the hinge pin to secure the motor. So the tension on the belt is going to be managed by a hand screw and threaded rod on the back end that will lift the motor up and pull the belt taut. So I saw out a space for that threaded rod and mostly get in the way of this video shot because I really don't know what I'm doing yet. So now I can put everything together and tension up the belt. And after all this work, the original radial arm saw motor crapped out on me. You can see it's stuttering here. That was a sign of things to come, and I end up putting a new motor on it. And that's just about the whole story on the drum sander, except this plastic housing wasn't nearly strong enough to hold the dust collection in place, so I mounted this wooden brace for it, and that's worked really well. And because this is a thing that I need to take apart occasionally, I tap threads in the wood so I can take this apart and put it back together as many times as I want, and I don't tear up threads like a screw would. Tapping threads in wood, awesome technique. So coming back to the miter saw, I wanted to mention a feature that I really like. I like having a zero clearance backer behind the blade, just so that I can know where I'm cutting and also to reduce any kind of chip out. That's really nice to have. But obviously, if I'm doing a miter cut, this gets in the way and I'm going to be cutting through aluminum. But with this setup, I can get it out of the way really quickly. On this side, everything slides out of the way. And over here, I've got two hand wheels that hold this fence in place. So I can slide that out of the way as well. Make my miter cuts and then put everything back. And have my zero clearance setup again. And that's about all there is to say about these three tools. Thanks for joining.